Perfect. So welcome to Monday, May the 15th call. Um, I had some personal aha moments yesterday when I was driving. So I went to Edmonton. My daughter, who lives in the province east of me. Yeah, I want to make sure I get my directions correct. The province east of me is called Saskatchewan, and she lives in a small city, Moose Jaw, and she's leaving for Mexico tomorrow with a girlfriend, and they're flying out of Edmonton, which is near me. So I had an opportunity to see her yesterday, and which is really, really cool because I haven't seen her since Christmas time. And I was feeling really melancholy yesterday. No particular reason, right? No explanation, just this really sadness and heaviness, and tried to logically figure it out, right? Tried to well, no reason. So it's kind of like that voice, the inner dialogue that I have quite a bit. There's no reason I should be feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? And I found myself trying to use my intellect, which is important. We have it. We're, at this um, I would say we're the only species that has it, but that's not what I believe. The species that lives on Earth. So I don't even know how to say that. Oh, I'm not like a dog. I have intellect, right? That's maybe a better way of saying it. And so what I realized was I was trying to justify, I was trying to logically explain why I should or should not be in a certain mood. And I paused and thought, what if I just allow the opportunity for me to feel the feels and try to stop trying to logically explain it. So that was kind of this first step. And then I paused and then remembered, oh yeah, I as an empath, as an intuitive, often feel the feels of like the collective of what's happening globally. It could be within my family, it could be within my community, it could be just the globe at large. And so I asked Divine to guide me on, were these actually my feelings? And it was a resounding no. I was the melancholy, the sadness, the heaviness that I was feeling wasn't mine. And then I had this like other intuitive voice sense that it was partially mine, but mostly not mine. And this is kind of what happens in my inner dialogue when I start to tap into divine source. I find myself feeling really settled, even in the feelings of the intellect of knowing that there's this melancholy feeling. And in fact, felt compelled to make a post about it on Facebook yesterday because a lot of people were celebrating Mother's Day, and there's some people who are grieving of the loss of a mother from whenever, and so wanted to acknowledge that. Yes, there's this celebration piece of it, but wanted to, I guess, let the collective know that I could feel their pain, and I wanted them to know that they were loved and heard. And I had a few people on Facebook who reached out to me, and many people who private messaged me and just and thanked me for that. And so I feel compelled to share that with you, because how many times do you have a message that you have a feeling or a sense, and you don't share it with anybody? You're just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, it doesn't mean that if you have this feeling that you logically decide to post it, although you could do that. But again, it's more of the tapping into and tuning into your connection with divine and allowing divine source energy to lead you. That's a lot, to allow the spirit, right? Divine spirit, universal intelligence, God, higher power to lead the way. And if you have a challenge with the word lead, then maybe tap into that. Are you not in resonance with that, or are you in resistance to that? Because a lot of times we might have resistance to following or having someone, that's not the best word, having divine lead us. Let me be more specific with that. And there could be some resistance to that. And so how many times do we not listen to our intuition? Do we set it aside? That we think that maybe we're being silly, or that it's irrelevant, or who cares, or it doesn't matter to anyone? No one really cares what you think or your opinion, right? And so growing up, one of one of the beliefs that I brought forward, and I can't even tell you if this is what my mom and dad believed, to be honest with you, but one of the beliefs I left home with was, unless you have something extremely profound to say, don't say anything at all. And so, as a person who felt for most of her life that there must be something horribly wrong with me at a low level, like I hid that really, really well. Of course, why would I share my opinion? Because to me, there was nothing profound about what I was saying, or how I was feeling, or how I was presenting, or any of the above. And so it's this opportunity for I think all of us to let the opinions, especially of people that we love, uh, let the opinions of others go. Though that could be friends, that could be uh, other leaders, that could be parents, that could be siblings. I mean, that could be anyone, society, but just like allow them to have their opinion and their stories, and release yourself from that. And so as I was contemplating this, I was contemplating also why I was feeling melancholy. And I had an awareness um, a couple weeks ago in my own personal relationship with Rob, that I was feeling like I wasn't important. And so as I started to intellectually unpack this story, so the story is, Rob's business is number one priority for him. He is the manager of Leo, his son, his MMA career. And so we as a family made a commitment that we would do everything in our power to ensure that Leo gets to the, so the top would be UFC or some other Bellator, or there's other groups like that in over in Europe, and specifically in Dubai. The UFC is owned by the prince or princess in Dubai. So that has been a top priority in his life. And I was feeling really sorry for myself about a few weeks ago, because I realized, and again, this is a story, that I was third, and I want to be number two. And I say number two because what I do and my career and how I want to impact the world is number one for me. And then I got really involved in a story, which is, I'm never important to anyone. I wasn't important enough to my mom and dad. Their career was number one. My dad's sobriety was number two, right? Their friends were number three. And my sister and I were possibly maybe number 4 or 5 priority. And then I started to realize that that's a pattern that I've created in my life, that every time, like, that's where I'm at. So yesterday, when I'm intellectually processing this and I logically understand the importance of all of this, and I was still feeling really sorry for myself that, and maybe I needed to be in a different relationship. Maybe I needed to be with someone that I was number one. And then went into the story of, well, that would be difficult because I'm not sure I could make some number. And I just spiraled into this really weird feeling. And as I was processing my intellectually, and this is what's so important, as I was processing this intellectually and giving a story of all of this, and finding myself getting more upset and more upset because I had a meaning to what this meant. In the middle of it, I heard my higher power just like stop and pause. And so that's when I had this connection of a lot of what was fueling the fire of this lower density energy wasn't mine. So that was when I said, okay, wait a minute, is this energy even mine? Because it was fueling, right? and realized it wasn't. But the second piece, which I think is even more profound and that I wanted to share with you, and that's why I'm sharing the personal story, because I couldn't this morning. I was thinking, how can I share this without actually sharing this story? And wrote it. I even wrote it out a couple times. I'm like, I can't like, I can't speak in like half terms. And so what I realized was, first and foremost, I was spinning because I was telling a story and I was giving the story a meaning that I should be number one, and what's wrong with him and what's wrong with me, and that must mean we don't have a good relationship. And so I was giving a whole bunch of meaning, and I was giving the meaning to this because in the world of relationship, you're supposed to be number one, right? That's, I mean, that's what I think anyhow. That's what I've been told. That's what society tells me. And so if I just paused and I gave the situation no meaning at all, and I just sat in the isness of it, and because I logically understood and wouldn't want it any other way, what I realized was that what I was trying to do was solve a problem with my personality, with my intellect. And there is possibly no problem. It's the isness of the thing. So I'm trying to solve something that might not even exist. And I'm trying to solve it with my brain pad, my intellect. And what if I just paused and I realized, A, there is no problem. There's only the meaning that I'm giving this. And B, what if it wasn't about solving a problem, which is, I think this is why it's so important to share this urgently. I was asked to urgently share it with you, is there is no problem. What I'm lacking is clarity. And it doesn't even matter in what, but what I realized was I'm lacking clarity. And so truly the most important thing for me is to pause and access the divine source energy within me. In my textbooks in metaphysics, they call it your God mind. So access your God mind and pause, and because there is no such thing as a problem, just sit and then ask, what is the truth in this? And what is my next step, if any? What is the belief around this, which was what was most important? And show me the clarity, show me the truth in what is going on. And what that had led me to is this insidiousness of this limiting belief that I have, which is of around value and worthiness. So if I really was that important, if I really had value or worthiness, then so it's kind of a mirror. I would put myself number one. So how many times do I not make myself a priority? So that was the first question came to me. How often do I not make myself a priority? How often am I number two or number three by myself? How often do I put myself 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th? Right? So that was the first thing that came to me. And how much of this is linked to value and worthiness, meaning my belief or my story around value or worthiness. And what if it's not related at all? What if the personality, makes this connection between where I'm placed in relationship, right? And how much value or worthiness that I think that I have. Then what came through that rabbit hole was who makes that decision, right? Like, where did that belief come from? If you're important, if you have value, worthiness, then you're like top priority in other people's lives. And really what's most important is that I'm top priority in my own life for me. And then then it was like, well, what kind of guilt or shame would that bring? What kind of like, I can't do that, that's self-centered or selfish. And what was really interesting for me was I felt like I have worked on this part. And so I was really surprised. Truly, I was surprised. I was like, man, this popped up again. Like what's happening? And so then I had an opportunity just to do a little bit of investigating with planets and things like that. So there was some astrological things that came into play, which brought into awareness of why this is coming up. But the biggest aha for me was every time I go to up level, like do things that I haven't been doing. So that's what I mean by up leveling. So it could be up leveling just in commitments or tasks or vibration or whatever. Um, I find myself facing the worthiness and value piece. And what's really interesting is that it shows up differently. So it no longer is a Groundhog Day in the sense of it's not the same, like I've been here a million times, but rather a little bit more insidious, rather a little bit more opportunity to like just dig a little further, peel away a few more layers. And the opportunity I think that we all have is this: when we are not at peace or feeling a lower density energy, whatever that looks like, that is not a natural state for us. Right? So I almost use the word normal, but that's not, I mean, what's normal, right? But it's not a natural state for us to be in. And so what if we could recognize that we're in, so in my words, I would say I'm in a primal energy. I'm in a non-empowered energy, right? I'm in a lower vibe energy. That is not my natural state of being. And when I'm not in my natural state of being, it's an opportunity to explore. No judgment, but to explore. So not feeling bad that I feel bad, right? And that's where I was with yesterday when I was intellectually feeling really sorry for myself. It was like, I have no reason to feel bad, right? And then feeling bad, like I was feeling bad that I was feeling bad. So I was like, this is crazy, right? And certain situations that happened. So we had a Mother's Day. Robin and I had plans for Mother's Day, and he had to go to work. So he works 7 days. He works 7 days a week. So he has a U-Haul dealership, and he's a professional eviction specialist. So he's been trying to find someone to work Sundays, but he went to work because he's busy, right? They're busy. And so he went to go help his staff person, thought he would be there for 15 minutes and was there for 4 hours. So I was feeling sorry for myself. I'm all by myself on Mother's Day, right? And then it was something else. And I just felt myself just going, I thought, wow. And that victim mentality is something that has not been present in my life for a very long time. What I realized yesterday as I was driving, which is why I love driving, what I realized while I was driving yesterday was that scenario needed to be created in my life so I could feel sorry for myself, so I could start to spin in my intellect, start to try to justify why I was feeling the way I was feeling, to lead me to the path of perhaps maybe not all of this is mine, to lead me to this awareness of I'm trying to make a decision with my personality side, right? My brain pan, my intellect, and decisions really, if we work with divine source energy and allow divine source energy to guide us in our decisions, the outcome is much different. And so all of that happened to me, for me, so that I could come to the conclusion of allowing divine source energy to lead me. Once again, in this path of understanding. And that the reminder of how and I think all of us, place so much value in the opinions of others. And the importance or the opportunity that we have to stand in our own power. Right? Because if I think that because of the lifestyle that Rob and I have, that's wrong, and somebody else's life is more right because their spouse is the most important, and that's the right way, and I'm in a relationship that's the wrong way, then it plays into my bullshit story of value and worthiness, and there must be something wrong with me. So we can look at every experience that we have of a lower density vibration and allow ourselves to have it play out. So not try to stuff it away or ignore it, but have it play out so that we have this opportunity then to experience the most awesome divine love ever, because that is so essential. Like when I can tap into the divine love, the sacred love, I mean, that's all that there is. Right? And if I place human love, right, which is different, human love comes with like conditions and right. And if I can tap into that, connect the two, like what would it be like for me to not act out of my core wounds and core fears of value, right? Less value, less worthiness, not being lovable, abandonment, rejection, which is what the feeling sorry about was all about. That was my core wounds and core fears. So I'm behaving from a core wound and core fear place versus what would God do? What would divine love feel like? What are my other choices, right? And what's the truth in the meaning that I'm giving it? So not even why am I giving it this meaning, because the why doesn't matter, but what's the truth in the meaning that I'm giving it? And so it's just a made up story anyhow. So what other truth can I, right? Or what is the truth, but what other story could I make up? So there's the truth, capital T, and there's like, what other story could I make up about this situation? Because it's really the meaning that we give things is really based in our beliefs, our core wounds, our core fears. So we can give it any meaning that we want to. We can change the meaning of it versus the meaning that we were giving it. And that opens the opportunity of your intellect to start to see, well, what are like to ask the questions, the conscious side of you, what else is possible? What's another version of what I'm of the story that I'm giving myself? And then most importantly, for me at least, most importantly is what is the actual truth, the capital T in this, right? And the truth that for me was an opportunity for me to go, oh yeah, that's where that value piece comes up, and your core wounds and core fears, that's not really the truth of who you are. So you can let that shit go. You can let that go. And you can tap into what's really going on in the collective, because someone in the collective needs to hear a message. And so, and all of you have that same opportunity, same intuition, same ability for yourself as well. We're not, I really believe that we're not meant to be in a lower density energy, right? We're meant to feel empowered. And anytime we don't, it's just an indication that there's an opportunity. So it's not even there's nothing wrong, but there's just an indication, an opportunity for us to go, there's like a beacon over here of an opportunity for me to go and explore what that could look like and what that means for me and what's the opportunity in that, all to come back to gratitude, right? I'm so happy and grateful now that because what we are grateful for, we create more of. What we resist persists. So I was in resistance yesterday to like, I don't want to feel this way. This is ridiculous, right? This is this is not new for me in a sense of Rob and I were very clear in our relationship when we entered into the relationship what our priorities were. It wasn't like a surprise, right? And we it might not be the kind of relationship that other people are in. Then I start to, because that's where the pain came in, because I start to compare, right, our life to other people's lives, where, well, they do this and we're not doing this, and they have this and we don't have this. And it just led to like this spiral, right? And how often does it happen for you where you're fixated on something that you're experiencing that's maybe not what you want to experience? That's why I say it's a lower vibe energy, and you just spiral. And how often do you stay in a long-term spiral? Like, does it last you an hour? Does it last you 2 hours? There's no wrong answer. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. Is it a day? Is it 2 days? Is it 5 days? Is it 5 months? Is it 5 years? And all of this, we have the opportunity that this is why the intellect is exciting for us. So it's kind of like the polarization of the intellect, right? It can pull you down and it can also help you rise by the quality of questions that you ask. And it might be different questions than you've ever asked before. And if you don't know what questions to ask, you can ask Divine Source. I don't know what question to ask. So could you guide me in asking the question? So all of that to say, as you're experiencing life and you're wanting to solve problems, stop trying to solve problems, because there's no such thing as a problem. That was the first one. Stop using your intellect, your intelligence, your brain pad to solve the problem. Tap into divine source energy and ask for clarity. What's the next step? What's the truth in this? Right? What am I to know about this? Right? Guide me, show me, tell me. And then we're given the next step, and then the next step, and the next step. All right. Thank you so much. I'm just going to check the chat here. Thank you, Diane. So Diane said she has the same experience when she's up leveling as well, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so yesterday was like, driving home from Edmonton and feeling really grateful that that I had that experience yesterday, and just ask for more clarity. But like, where am I to go? Where am I to go from here? I have this incredible insight. What's next? What am I actually to do with this information? Right? So awesome. Anyone have any other questions or comments? I'll turn the recording off.